Welcome to Deep Thought. Keep track of significant events in a year. Now, I talked about spiraling in my last podcast, but there's a deeper way to know that you're spiraling. There's more to it than just what I would say in an 8-minute podcast. There is more to it. It's an entire philosophy behind it. Now, one of the things you want to do is keep track of significant events in your life, particularly in a year. You know, write it down. Keep a calendar. You want to start that calendar from your birthday, right? Every year, get a calendar. Every time something significant happens, like real significant, like look at when you meet somebody, right? You might meet a new mate, right? And you always you meet them at a certain time of year. Indeed, one thing I've learned from keeping calendars for a few years, there are definite patterns. See, one thing to understand about spiraling and just moving through life, there's always definite patterns with how you move, with how things happen, when they happen. Everything happens in a season. Everything happens at a certain time. Like I always meet. Like I know at certain times a year, like I know I will always meet a new woman. It never fails. it never fails. Or I have a good encounter with a woman or something. There was always certain times a year. Other times of the year, I pretty much just chill. It's just like, I never meet women during this time. Like there's certain times of year I've always had sex with someone if I wasn't married. At certain times of year, I'll always. And then there's certain other times of year, it's pretty much a drought. So I just go in monk mode. So it's only like maybe a month, but I was like, let me just chill out, right? Because what I started doing was keeping track, especially when I found out about spiraling. Because what happened is you'll find out that certain things happen in a certain time of year. There's certain times that it's good to work on something. Certain times it's good to chill out. And that was the thing. So what you want to do in your path to spiral, to know if you're spiraling, is, okay, say your car breaks down one part of the year, right? Your car breaks down. Okay, write that down in your calendar. And I'm going to tell you how deep that can go. The next year, you might not think about it, but then you'll start having some car trouble. You'll be like, damn, what's happening? And then, but if you look at your calendar, say, damn, I had my car break down around this time of year the other time. And I know it seems fantastic and stuff, but watch it. Or you notice that it seemed like you always meet a member of the opposite sex a certain time of year. Write that down when you meet somebody new. And then certain times of year that it seemed like you always break up. Right? You breaking up with somebody, right? Here's the thing, and here's the magic. And I'm gonna put air quotes around the word magic, right? Once you start keeping track of significant events, it actually gives you an idea when something can happen, right? And then you can prepare for it. Let me use a car example again. Let me say, okay, for 2 years straight, your car would break down a certain time of year. All right, so you coming up on the 3rd year. It was like, okay, cars usually break down. Let me take this into the shop now. Boom. All of a sudden, the car's running good, it's fixed and everything, right? Now, somebody would say, well, what that would do. It actually changes things around. It actually changes the situation around. Or let me use the relationship thing, because let's be real, that's a major thing. All right. You notice you always meet a certain member of the opposite sex around a certain time of year. Okay. So around this time, if you're looking for someone new, it's like, oh, let me start paying attention more. Let me fix up more. Right? And that's another aspect of it. Right? You know what you need to do to make something happen. And one of the things in not just keeping track of significant events, but keeping track of everything that happened around it. Like maybe when you meeting his mate, this is when you feeling good. Maybe you wearing certain clothes, or you I don't know, you working on something, boom, right? So you do that, right? So what you do is it's like, oh, okay, I know to fix up. Or like if you know that you usually break up or have trouble with the members of opposite sex around a certain time of year. Now say you're in a relationship, right? You met somebody and you coming up on that period that there's usually a problem. Okay, what do? You was like, okay, you already started knowing to do some stuff to address that problem before it happened, right? Now here's the thing. You can use those significant events to see if you're spiraling. You can mark everything because then you can go year to year and say, okay, wait a minute, this happened this year, this was bad, but then the next year I did something different to change the outcome. The thing happened, but it was a little different. And then the third year is like it was a totally different outcome. That lets you know you're spiraling. Because see, then you can mark it. It was like, okay, this time last year, this is what happened. And this wasn't a good thing. But then, all right, I know what to do now. And I changed it. And then the next year, something similar will come up, but then you know how to take care of it. And then the fourth year, it might not show up at all because you already started doing some stuff to prevent it from happening. And then once you got stuff good happening, then you can start building on that. Then you spiraling. Like say, like a big thing, and this is why I'm big on spiraling. I notice I get a lump sum of I would always get a lump sum of money. This is going back to the 90s. This is going back to the 90s. That's when I first noticed it. I would always get a lump sum of money like around either March or November for me. Always. Like I would get jobs. I noticed several times, especially in the 90s, I would get like either a new position or a job around March. Seriously, like start jobs in March or get a lump sum of money or something in November. And it never failed. So it's just like, oh, okay. Okay. So it's like, all right, I know what to expect. Even now, even being fully in business, I would get certain money. Even when I was, I remember when I started my publishing company. Well, when my publishing company really took off, and I started really making money from my book, Nice Guys and Players. That's when the company really took off. Now, I had published a book in September. In fact, today is when I published my book, Nice Guys and Players. Today is the anniversary of it, 20 years ago. 20 years ago today, right? But it didn't sell. It sold in trickles at first. But then it took it to another level in November. So that's why I always say, it was like, oh, okay, I know. But track every event. That's how you know it. Every significant events. Or something crazy happened. There was something crazy that happened back in some crazy stuff happened back in January. It wasn't a bad thing. I wrote it down. I was like, wow, this is wild. So I just wrote it down. Now I know to go through it. I was like, oh, okay, I know when to look for some stuff next year. But that's how to spiral. Keep track of your events. And then just say, okay, this is how I know I'm going on the right path. All right. So anyway, I want y'all to think on that. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.